Welcome back, everybody. This is Unconditional Surrender, the me, myself, and I playthrough of the main event scenario. The game is published by GMT Games, designed by Salvatore Vasta. We are getting ready to go into the Soviet operations phase. I took a little time to try and plot out kind of what I'm going to do. First thing that I'm going to try to do is activate him for 2, the 4th guards, and he will declare a mobile attack against the Romanian. Go to combat commitment. The Germans cannot throw in an airplane here. All they can do is throw in a ground support. They do have 2 of them. And the Russians can throw in a tanks marker. So we get to ground, go to commitment, both sides commit. Russians are first, they put a tanks marker. Germans go ahead and play a ground support. And that's all we can really do there. So the Russians are +1 because they're elite, and then they get +2 because of the tanks marker makes them unarmored. And then the Romanians start at 0, and they get a +1 for their ground support. And then it's going across the river, so it's -1. So I'm only a +2 to a +1. So the Russians roll 5, +2 is a 7. The Romanians roll a 5, +1 is a 6. So that didn't do anything. The Germans have to roll for theirs. The Russians will just put their tanks marker back on the turn. Next turn. The ground support for the Romanians comes back in 2 turns. It'll be back in July. Okay. Currently it'd be a 0 to 0. That costs me 3 movement points, by the way, so I have 7 left. So if I continue to attack him, I'm 0 to 0. Because I'm +1 and -1 for the river, and he's a 0. So I'm going to make my second attack without a tanks. Well, he doesn't know that. I'm going in for 3 more. I'm going to attack him again, mobile assault. The Germans could use their last ground support marker here to try and hold the Romanians. The Finns are far enough back, the Finns and the Hungarians, that I think if I was the German, I really want to hold that, because he's threatening to cut off my retreat route for the 3rd Panzer by taking that hex. So we go to combat commitment. The Germans commit and the Russians do not. They're going to save their tanks markers. They were trying to get him to commit that other ground support, so maybe in the future the Romanians or somebody will be harder pressed. So the Germans are actually at a +1, and the Russians are at a 0. And the Russians roll a 4, not bad. And the Germans roll a 4, +1 is a 5. On the combat results table, that is 4 to a 5 is a diamond. So, and that was another German ground support marker. Forgot to put it on the map. So then they have to roll to see when this one comes back. 6 turns. It's going to be a long time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not coming back till November. Ouch. Okay. And the Russians have 4 movement points left, so they'll go ahead and spend 3 more and attack, and this time they're at 0, and so are the Romanians. So it's straight die rolls against each other. The Russians roll a 5 again, and the Romanians roll a 4. 5 to a 4 is a diamond. So, much ado about nothing, but I did get him to use up his ground support markers there. So that was part of the reason why I did that. Now, the next thing I do with the Russians, I'm going to go ahead and play a partisans marker on the 8th Infantry. If I can somehow bust through this hole here, I can cut off retreat routes for the 20 20th Army is my goal there. And then I can assault it with these guys up here can attack it and possibly get rid of it. Costing him a will point, kills an infantry. Takes a couple turns for it to get built and come back to the front, so basically 3 months before it's actually fully effective. And the Russians just need to chip away at the German army. I'm going to have poor weather next turn, so it'll only be assaults then, so I'm trying to do as many attacks here as I can really afford. The Partisans does take the infantry's +2 natural +2 away, and that's why I'm doing that. The real question is whether I want to do mobile attacks here or, try to just assault it and destroy it that way. If I did an assault, I could throw in a tanks marker, so I would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, -1. I'd be +6. The best he can do is throw in an airplane and a tanks. So I could be +6 to +4 on an assault. Or I could go in with just the guards unit and I'd be +2, and he could throw in a tanks or an airplane to just make it an even. Or I could throw in both to try and completely stop my assault or my attack, but then he has 2 other units that can attack. So I need to kind of space out things there. Because he could come at me with a couple of +1s several times and try to take the hex and keep pushing, which is what I most am afraid of. Because if he can get into 3156, he has a very good chance of knocking out the 20th and the 10th, because they have no retreat routes, so they'll just kind of disintegrate in front of me. And that would leave me kind of a big hole down here in the south. I think I'm going to go for the mobile attacks. My heart says assault it, but I think I'm going to go for the mobile attacks. So we're going to start with the Guards Army. Activate him for 2. Down to 26. He's attacking this unit, obviously. So that cost me 3. That leaves me 7. Right now, the Germans are at a net of 0, and I'm at a net of 0 as well, because it's +1 and -1 for the river. The Germans have to decide, do they really want to stop this? If they use both their tanks marker and their airplane, so right now at 0-0, he could throw in a tanks marker, and I have to have said that I'm going to throw in something to slow him down. So when you get to commitment, yeah, we both commit. And the Russians throw in their tanks, and the Germans... we held there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I really need to hold the south here, so I'm going to go ahead and put my tanks marker on it for this turn, so that we end up... Germans are at +2, and the Russians are at +2. So it's basically die rolls. I could go haul out and try and stop them, but then he would just hit me with the shock army 3 times or 2 times for +1s, and then the tanks army a couple times, 3 times for +1. And, if he rolls the die enough times, he's probably going to get a retreat, and that's all he really wants is a retreat to be able to stuff up my retreat routes. So I'm going to try and string it out so I can have +2 a couple of times, depending on what I'm facing here. So the Russians roll. 2 + 2 is a 4. And the Germans roll. 4 + 2 is a 6. A 4 to a 6 is an AS. So the Germans stuffed me. And tanks go on the turn track. And that activation is done. In for a penny, in for a pound. We'll go with the shock army first. So he is starts off as +1 as a shock army, and then +1 because he's a shock army, or +1 for an elite, and he's +1 for a shock in fair weather. So he's +2, and then -1 for the river. The Germans, again, are starting at 0. They're going to try and stuff the shock army, too, and go use up the airplane. They're trying to stop this from happening. So that makes the Germans at +2. So the Russians roll 3 + 1 is a 4. The Germans roll a 3 + 2 is a 5. A 4 to a 5 is a diamond. So they started with 8, and that's 3 for that attack. So they have 5 left. So now the Russians get to attack at +1 to 0 for their next 3 movement points. So now the shock army rolls a 4 + 1 is a 5, and the Germans roll a 3. This is not good. No, it isn't. It's a DR, which is what we really wanted. So the Germans have to retreat. They only have one legal retreat route, which is there. And then the 5th shock army is actually going... Does it want to move in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I don't take the hex, I could move the 1st tank army through... This guy's activated. I should take the point off my national tracks before I forget. I'm down to 25. See, he's at +2 now because he's out from under the partisans. So if I move the shock army in, I have one more attack with him. And it's a straight die. It's +2 to +2. However, if I move the tanks army, if I don't take the hex and I move the tanks army and I go 1, 2, 3 to get across the river, going through the activated guards infantry. So I'm out of zones of control. Sitting there with 3, I have 3 attacks at +2 to +2. Which seems like it might be a better thing to do. Now, of course, if I fail there, I won't have a retreat route next turn, and he might just do a 3-hex assault to just take a step away from me, if not eliminate me. But at this point, I think we have to try to do the biggest push that we can. So, Shock Army does not take the hex, ends its activation. I activate the 1st tanks. This is a point where I wish I had the 1st Guards tank down here instead of up where it is, but if that were the case, then the hole probably would open up there instead. So, and it activates and goes 1 out of zone of control into the hex of the Guards infantry unit, but he's not going to stay there. He goes 2 for the river, 3 for the hex where the partisans are, and then 2 more will attack the 8th Army. So he has 5 left. He's +2 because he's armor. And the defender now is +2 because he's German, because he's not under a partisan anymore. So, it's +2 to +2, and I'll be able to do it 2 more times unless he stuffs me on a die roll. So the Russians roll. Hey, a 6 + 2 is an 8. That's a good die roll. The Germans roll. A 2 + 2 is a 4. That's not a good die roll. An 8 to a 4, well, it's only a DR, but I did push him. Now where to go? I think I want to stay on this side of the river. So retreat to there. Because that means if he moves in, which he's going to do, I think. I'm going to take a chance here. It'll cost him 3 movement points to attack any one of these 3 units. So they have to choose what they're going to do. They also could attack the Panzer, but that would be not a good thing to do. And they'd only be +1 because it's -1 for the hills, -1 for the going across the rivers up here. But it would seem that maybe I should take a pot shot at one of the infantry, just to make it easier on myself going forward. So I think I'm going to go ahead and take a pot shot at the 20th. I will be +2, -1 for a river. He's +2 because he's German. And that costs me 3 movement points. And the Russians roll a 3 + 1 is a 4. The Germans roll a 3 + 2 is a 5. So nothing happens. 4 to a 5 is a nothing. And so we end that guy's activation as well. Now, going to activate the first guard's tank army. It's going to cost me 2 more. We're going to make a mobile assault on the 20th. Let's get this guy unhighlighted because he's not under attack anymore. And that costs me 2 movement points, so I have 8 left. Oops, 8 left. He's +2 for being German. I'm +1 for elite and +2 for armor. So it's a +3 to a +2. I can do it several times. So let's see what happens. +3 to +2. 4 + 3 is a 7. And Germans rolled a 1. I don't think that's good. 7 to a 3 total is a DR. The unit cannot retreat because he's not isolated, but he can't retreat. So he has to be flipped. Now that takes away his +2. So the armor will attack again. Have 6 movement points left. And he will... let's see. He's +3. So +1 for elite, +2 for armor. So it's a +3 to a 0. The Russians roll 2 + 3 is a 5. The Germans roll a 1. Okay. I'm getting the die rolls for the Germans that my friend was getting for the Russians. So that means that this guy's eliminated because he can't retreat. And a 5 to a 1 is a retreat. I could put no enemy zone of control there, but there's no reason to. I'd rather leave that hex open and just try and kill this guy. That also takes down the German national will, so we broke the 60 barrier. They're down to 59. So knocked out 4 of his units over time. Let's see, it cost me 2, 4. So I'm going to spend 2 to attack the 10th, and now I am not only +1 because I'm elite, +2 because I'm a tank, but this guy is now isolated because an air unit doesn't count. It has to be a ground unit, a controlled city, or a fort, a friendly fort, to not be isolated, and he is isolated. So I get +2 more. Even though he's a +2 German, I'm +5. And if I remember right, none of his airplane can't reach in any way, shape, or form. So +5 to +2. And the Russians roll. Good thing I have a +5. 1 + 5 is a 6. The Germans roll a 4. +2 is a 6. So 6 to a 6 is a diamond. The Russians will spend 2 more. It's the same die roll. +5 to +2. Russians roll a 1 again. That's a 6 total. The Germans roll a 1. +2 is a 3. 6 to a 3 is a DR. So now he is flipped. And with my last 2 movement points, I will try to do in the 10th Infantry. He's lost his +2 because he's been flipped. So it's +2 for German, -2 for being flipped. And I'm still at my +5 because he's isolated. So it's +5 to a straight die roll. And the Russians roll. What do you know? I didn't roll a 1. 5 + 5 is a 10. If I remember right, a 10, even if he rolls a 6, the best he can get is a DR. So whatever happens, he's going to be eliminated. So that's another will point off the German track. And a faction card comes up, and another enemy unit goes into the eliminated box. And boy howdy, and the armored unit will take the hex. Just so I can kind of advance the line here. Now I have to make some decisions here on what I want to try to do. I don't have a real breakthrough, per se. I mean, I could move up and attack maybe the 2nd with a guards unit. I think the best thing I'm going to do is probably move a guards unit up and take this hex, so I'm adjacent to the 8th. And that's more to make the airplane fly away a little bit anyway. It's not going to fly very far, obviously, probably not farther than Kharkov. But, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I spent 9, so let me make sure my national track's right. I've activated 9 points worth of units. And I'm at 21, so I'm in the right place. So before I decide what I'm going to do in the south, I'm going to see if I can get a heroic charge out of the guys around Tula. Wow. That's not the best attack in the world. Be +1, +2. Throw in my last tanks marker. So I'd be +2, +2, +1. So I'd be +5. If I threw in heavy artillery, it'd be +7, -1, +6. He throws in an airplane, it's +6 to +4 on an assault. All I'm trying to get is a retreat out of him. I'm not expecting to really damage him, and even if I did, he has enough economy to rebuild himself. I could try to do the, mobile assault and wear down his aircraft. But I'm not sure that's the right way to go about this. That would cost me 4, which would put me down to 17. So I still have at least a little bit of movement. I could attack here. I'd be 1 + 1. I'd be +2 to +2 on assault. Don't have tanks unit to really use here if I'm going to use it here. Well, I suppose I could move the shock army back 1, move the armored up. Then it would be +2 to +2. Shoving things around here. I'd at least get +2, 4, 6, 7, 8. I'd be +7 to +4. Yeah, I know it seems kind of weird, but I'm going to spend some points here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to spend 6. It's going to put me down to 15. So this might be the very last thing I do. 3, 4, 5, 6. So the shock army, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do I really want to stick him out there? I don't think I want to stick him out there. You know that? I don't think I want to go that far. And I'm just going to stay right here. That's 1. This guy activates for 2. And declare an assault on this hex. Oh, there goes my alarm. Oh, nope, that's some other alarm. Dismiss that. That's some other alarm. And then the other 3 of the 6 that I mentioned will be these guys. We go to combat commitment. Both sides commit. This is an assault, so both sides commit. Where's my faction card? The Russians will play their last tanks marker. Oh, no. Before I started all that, I knew there was something I was doing wrong. I forgot. Before I started all that, I would have played the partisans on there and then done this. differently. All right. Let's do some undos here. Would I have... No, I still want to do the assault because I want to break Tula. So it's still going to be assault, but I forgot to play the partisans first. Sorry. We go to combat commitment. I play tanks marker. He commits his airplane. Where the hell it is? There it is. Takes a sortie, commits his airplane to this. Then I go ahead and I'm going to throw my heavy artillery in as well because I really want to try and take Tula. So the Germans start off at +2 for German, -2 for partisan, +2 for airplane. The Russians will use the armor as the primary, so he starts off at +2. I get +2 for a shock. The tanks is on the guards infantry, which makes him armor, which is another +2. And we had +2 for heavy artillery, and then -1 for attacking the city. So, yeah. Lots of resources used to take Tula. And then we will roll dice. The Russians are at +7. The Germans are at +2. Russians are all 6 + 7 is a 13. Did do that right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, -1. Right. Yep, I got it right. And then the Germans are all... I have a 13 with the Russians. Oh, 1. Oh my God. That's a 3 total. A 13 to a 3 is actually a DE. Oh my goodness. A 6-1 split. 1 in 36 shot of it happening, and it did. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm going to lose another willpower for that. Too bad it wasn't a mobile assault and I could, do something with the movement. And the German unit is going to go back on the faction card. Wow. I knocked out 3 German units. Not too bad for one turn type thing. Especially since I'm kind of short on production points at the moment. So turn track, that's what I'm looking for. I have to roll for the heavy artillery. 3, not too bad. 1, 2, 3. It'll be back in August. And then tanks mark will be back next turn. And then I will take it with the... what do I take it with? Take it with the shock army. Alright, I need to put these partisans up here because I'm going to have to roll for them at the end of my operations phase. Okay. So I have 15 points left. That's my airplanes. So I'm thinking I'm going to stop. I thought of possibly doing like a 6-point attack here. Doesn't seem like it's worth it. Okay, that's my timer. I'm going to go ahead and do the end of turn, so this is going to be a little bit over half an hour. The Russians are all in supply. They don't have anybody. This guy goes 1, 2. This guy goes down the rail. These guys are fine out here. So nobody's out of supply. I only have 15 production points left, so I'm not going to move up and make this airplane run away. Maybe the Germans will stick an infantry out there and let me assault it from 3 hexes. Who knows? So we need to go to... There's nobody with a no supply marker, so we don't have to worry about that. Replacements for the Axis. Let's go do the Italians first, so I don't forget. I gave them an extra point for this, so they can do 3 and 6. And which fleet should I do? The one up there or the one down here? Let's do the fleet down here. And that's 10. And then they still have 1 point left. If I remember right, they have a unit to build. Yep, they still will have 1 point left to build a unit. Oh, national tracks come up here. So that was their 10. Poof. And they still have a point left. The Germans have 29. I don't even think I can spend it all this turn. They have 1 point to build. Replacements-wise, this is 1. Oh, not that. Oh, come on. That was 1. And then there's 12, 15, and I'll go ahead and do the convoy for 18. And I'll still have 10 left. So I just took off 18 points, so we'll go count the German points and make sure I've got it right. So 18 points. So here's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. And I can't spend any more because I don't have any more things to do. I'm out of things I can actually spend things on in the replacements phase. Go to the west. Let's go do the easy stuff. Down 2. Goes away. Here in England. It goes away. And this one comes down too because that's an American bomber, right? Yeah, that's the American bomber. Okay, and the British have to spend theirs. I think I got all the Americans. The British have to spend theirs, so they have 24. 4 is this, for sure. Bring it down 2. So that's 4. Down here at Sicily, I want to make sure we clear the airplane. So that's 3 more, down to 17. I don't have anything to build for the British, no. So I can spend it all here. 17. I'm going to take 3 off here for supply purposes. It's 14. Yeah, I think I'm going to go here and take down Force H a couple. And then I have 9 left. That's 3. Oh, I could spend 4 on the home fleet. And let the guy in Eastern North America sit for the sortie. Why don't we do that? Even though it wastes points. I need to get this fleet down sooner or later, so. And that's everything. That was 4 points. So it leaves me with 2. I can't spend 2 on anything. If I hadn't done the Gibraltar fleet, I could have done this fleet in the convoy. But convoy in East North America is not really doing much at this point. I think I'm going to spend it down to maybe to Casablanca. Maybe I'll send the American back there. I don't know. Okay, Soviets, we know that they're going to spend their 15 on their airplanes because they don't have anybody flipped. So go here and just do their airplanes real quick. It's not really a good exchange rate here right now. The Germans can pretty much negate my air, but oh, I know what I forgot to do. End of the Russian operations phase. Guess what I forgot to do? Forgot to roll for partisans. So we'll roll for this partisan here. That was on Tula. Comes back in 3 turns. The brave partisans. 1, 2, 3. And then the partisans down here next to Rostov, they come back in 3 turns as well. So partisans are coming back in August. Be regrouped and ready to be used again in August. Which is nice because that's a nice fair weather turn, guaranteed. So I'll have hopefully some places to try and break through by then. We'll just have to see how this pans out. It's definitely going to be a German retreat at this point. Okay, as replacements, upgrades. I don't think anybody has anything in the upgrade boxes. Upgrade, upgrade. Oh, the Russians do. So, no, no, yes. Now the Russians have upgrades. Where to put their 2 tanks? Guards, tanks, armies. Think I'm going to put 1 here in the second. So I'm going to delete the second, and I'm going to grab the 3rd guard tanks army. He's going to go in there. So it gives me a guards tank up there. I don't get another one for a while. I get another one in July. So I'm thinking I need another one down here in the clear area. Turn the first tanks into a... Hello. Gets deleted and this gets placed. So, yeah, we'll do that. That gives me a couple guards, tanks, armies down here to initiate assaults in the poor weather that's going to come up. There'll at least be +2, +1 for elite, +1 for an armor. And I'll have a shock armies, that's +2. So I could end up with like a +6 on Rostov or something like that. So that could be interesting. That's the upgrade. Now we're to mobilization. Why did I take the card down? The Germans have a point to spend. The Italians have a point to spend. Germans could spend more, but they don't have it to spend. Don't have units to spend them on. So both of their units are going to come on. The Italians... I guess I just put them... Oh, no, I'll put them in Venice. Until I can get German infantry to take its place. And then the German garrison unit... not really sure where it's going to end up. I'm going to go ahead and start it in Munich as if I'm sending it to Italy. I might strategically move it somewhere else. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to have to study the map some. And that's all the mobilization. Nobody else has anything to mobilize. So skip through that. Diplomacy phase, nobody's talking because we're all fighting. They have not conquered Germany yet, so the game is not over. We go to end of turn phase. Put the faction card over here. Go get some stuff off the turn track. There's a bunch of German stuff, it looks like. What have I got here? I got the 2 tanks markers, right? Oh, I got my surface action thing back. I got a submarines back. Got my surprise attack marker back. Got my heavy artillery back. And why do I have a garrison? Oh, he goes into the mobilization box. Along with all my infantry. So now I've got 4 infantry. 3 infantry and a garrison to build. Such trials and tribulations for the German army. They definitely have a weakened front in the south now, which is the hardest place to defend. So, what else comes out here? Russians get a bunch of stuff. What's this? Oh, Lend-Lease for the Russians. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lend-Lease for the Russians. That gives them another factory. You go up there, and I think the UK gets one too, if I remember right. Yeah, that's what this UK thing is. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the British got an extra factory too. Oh, faction card. This is an upgrade for the US task force. And the British got their partisans, so they'll be able to play something in strategic warfare. And then the Russians got all their tanks markers back. So, heavy artillery. We don't see any heavy artillery for a while. Won't see it till August. But that's when our partisans come back, so maybe there'll be a really neat assault that I can pull off. Alright. That's the end of turn phase. That is the May 1943 turn. The Soviet operations through end of turn. We will start with the weather phase in June of next turn, which we know it's going to be poor everywhere because of the new weather rules. I'm Gen608. If you like my videos, please subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Sorry this one ran a little bit longer than I usually tend to try and keep them at 30 minutes. But we were basically done with operations, and it was just a matter of you seeing me, do all my replacements and getting stuff out. Spending up the points that I could spend. Very good turn for the Russians, all things considered. With only 30 production points, they were able to do all of their aircraft and still killed 3 German units. Lucky die roll on one of them there on Tula. But they did, they had to get some die rolls to make it happen. They got a few, got the no retreats, and then that's how you kill German units, is make them not be able to retreat, and then attack them at even at minus, if you're +1 and they're +2. If you can roll 4 times, all you need is a DR to make them flip, and then that +2 is gone, and then you're at an advantage. So that's how you take out Germans. We will see you next time with the start of the June 1943 turn. This is Gen608. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.